Okay, so this is our second lecture. So in the last lecture, in the first lecture, we stopped at this point. So now what I'd like to do, I'd like to erase this line and write it again with you, but a little bit slower. Okay, when I start writing something, then you can't see it because this recording application that I'm using in order to record this lecture doesn't show this to you, doesn't record it. But over here there is this sort of a window that popped up that tries to offer me a list of options from which I can choose to complete what I started typing. So if I started typing CON, it's displaying a list of options that start with CON. I see here the console key and console key info, and over here there's const and continue. And if I scroll this thing all the way up, it says here activation context and console, and at the bottom URL type convert. I guess things that don't necessarily start with CON but rather contain the CON. Interesting. In any case, if you try this on your own, and obviously you should try everything I do on your own, you should exercise. Everything I do, you should try and exercise yourself. And also I'll give you exercises as the course progresses. I'll give you exercises so that you can try things on your own. In any case, so when you try this, you'll see this window that pops up with the completion options, and you should always use this completion mechanism. It's called the IntelliSense. You should always use it because the computer is very sensitive to how we write things. It's not like a human that can withstand errors. With the computer, if you write, for example, lowercase instead of uppercase, then it's not going to understand what you want. So in order not to make mistakes, use the computer to help you write. So when you start typing, and the computer and the IntelliSense mechanism offers you to complete, so you should pick one of the options that it's offering you. In this case, I'll continue typing, but not to the end. Console. I'll even write the entire word out, but I can see over here that the console that the computer offers me, that the IntelliSense offers me, has a capital C at the beginning. I double click that, and suddenly we see the console here with a capital C, but also it turned into a greenish color, just like the word program over here. And by the way, we haven't discussed all this code, and all this code we'll discuss much later, because most or everything that's written here is advanced topics. And right now I want to teach you the fundamentals, just how to write to the console, nothing more. Okay, so the console now is greenish, which means that the computer has recognized it, which is good. If it doesn't turn, right, if I erase the E, it turns black again. So the computer has to recognize it. If it's not recognized, don't go on. Something is wrong. Now, by the way, I am writing between the innermost left squiggly and right squiggly brackets. If you write anywhere else, it's not going to work. So again, I want the computer to complete me. I never want to complete something on my own. It's too risky. So if you want the options to jump at you, then you have this button over here, the A with the arrow and the 3 dots. When I hover over that, it says display word completion. So you click that and the IntelliSense window comes up. Try it and you'll see. On this lecture you can't see that. Okay, so again I double click the console, double click, and it turns green. Very good. Now I want to tell the computer to write. Actually, let me explain. When I want to tell this window to write, I have to refer to the window. The reference to this black window is console. So right now I'm referring to the console. That's how we program. We program very similarly to how we talk. So I turn to the console and I say console dot. And that means I'm ordering the console to do something. And again, the IntelliSense window jumps up and offers me a list of options. These are all the options that are available to me through the console. These are all the commands that I can give to the console. And one of them is over here for me. Again, you can't see it because the recording application has a bug. I double click the write option, double click, and there is write. Very good. So I'm ordering the console, please write. And you could say that this is please. Console, please, or you could say it's do as I say, or give me the list of options, or from the list of options I choose write. And by the way, you have to write it this way. If you leave out the dot, it's not going to work. It's considered an error. And as time progresses, we will learn exactly what an error is, how flexible is the language. The language that we're using to write is called C#. C# is C#. It's one of the most modern languages, programming languages in our time. It's a very good language. I really recommend it compared to other languages. Okay, so again I want to put the dot in there. So put the dot, and again it gives me the list, but I don't need the list at this time. Good. So I have write. That's very good. Right. Now I'm going to open the parenthesis. Good. And close the parenthesis and semicolon. Now notice that throughout all this time there is a red squiggly wavy line below this entire line, and this denotes an error. Whenever you have the red wavy line, that means you have an error. That means that if you try and run your program, and this button I usually refer to as the run your program button, if I try and click the program, well actually the program is currently running, so really what I commanded it to do is complete. So let's stop the run and start again. So if I try and run the program, the red wavy line now turned blue, but that also denotes an error. And it says here, the Microsoft Visual C# 2010 Express says here, this is information, there were build errors. Would you like to continue and run the last successful build? Or do not show this dialog again. Never hit this. You always want to see this dialog. Never choose do not show. You always want to see this dialog, and you basically always want to choose no. If you choose yes, then you would be running the program that last ran successfully, which is without the console write hello, which is what we're going to write. So what good is that? So usually you don't want to hit yes. Usually you want to hit no, or just hit enter on the keyboard, because the no is the default button in this dialog, because it has the blackish lines over here. So enter on the keyboard is no. And now what I see is the error list. It says here one error, 0 warnings, 0 messages, but there is one error, and here is the error. I double click the error, click, and it scrolls automatically to the line of code that we wrote that contains the error. In this case, the error is really a little complicated for us to understand, so I'm not even going to read it with you. In time, obviously, you will understand the meaning of the errors. It's very important. Okay, so console write, and I want to tell it to write hello world. Anything I want to tell it to write, I have to put within quotes. So I have my first quotes and my second quotes. Within the quotes, you can tell the computer what to display on the screen. And actually, at this point already we have a good program, even though the blue wavy line is still there and the error is still at the bottom. It seems like we still have an error, but actually this is not so. If I try and run the application, the program, then will it run? Let's see. Yes, it runs. It doesn't display anything, but it ran, meaning this is a good line of code. There are no errors in this line of code. Okay, so now I can write whatever I want in here. This time I'm gonna write hello and my name. Hello, Assaf. How are you? Okay, let's run the program, but notice that if I run the program, the next line that is about to be performed is the closing of the window. It's not going to run this line. Okay, so if I run the application now, the program is going to close. Run it so that it will close, which is okay. And now run it again so that it will run our line. And there it is. Very nice. Hello, Assaf, period, 2 spaces, how are you, question mark. Everything just as I typed it in between the quotation marks shows up on the black window. Very nice. Now if I want to write another line, let's add another line. Enter. Console, right? Enter. Enter selects, right? Again, you can't see the IntelliSense window in this video, but when you try and work with the Microsoft Visual C# Express, you will see the IntelliSense window. Very good. Now, period. So I get the list of options. W, well, right for me is already selected. Enter. That's very good. Open, close, parentheses, semicolon, and in between, well, let's answer the question. Hello, Assaf, how are you? I'm fine. Thank you. How are you? Now, again, if I run the program now, it's going to close, and then I would run it again in order for it to run again from the beginning. But I can also, guess what? I can also drag the yellow arrow to this new line that we wrote. And now, the next line that is going to be performed by the computer is the yellow line, which is the typing, the displaying of the I'm fine, comma, space, thank you, period, 2 spaces, how are you, question mark. Let's try it. Run it, and there it is. I'm fine, thank you, how are you? So this is the second line that we wrote in the code. But notice that it was displayed in the same line as was the first line of code, which means that Console.Write always continues wherever it was before. So the first Console.Write starts at the beginning of the black window. The second Console.Write starts from how are you, question mark, right? At this point, question mark, and right after that, I'm fine. The I'm fine. Not even, it didn't even introduce a space into the black window. It just continued right on. Okay, that's the way Console.Write works. Very nice. Now, I want to skip a line between these 2 lines. How do I do that? That's very simple. Enter here. Let's tell the computer to skip a line. So, console enter, dot, write line. Write line, which you can see, double click, write line, now you can see it, orders the computer to simply skip a line. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis, semicolon. We always need to use the parentheses. That's the way. Again, we're out of time, so we'll see you in the next lecture.